updates nation about students studying in Taiwan amidst coronavirus outbreak. And is Nevis fully prepared for an earthquake given the seismic activity that is occurring around the Caribbean? Regionally, Puerto Rico is rattled again weeks after a deadly earthquake. Internationally, coronavirus Hong Kong to quarantine visitors from mainland China. And in sports, Jamaica beat St. Kitts and Nevis in CONCACAF qualifying match. We'll have the details of these and other stories after this short break.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan.
Welcome back, and now on to the national news in detail.
Been in touch with our ambassador, Her Excellency Jasmine Huggins, our ambassador to the Republic of China, Taiwan, to ascertain the status and the risks to our students who are studying there. Her report is a positive one, that at this point all appears to be well. She's indicated that this is the Chinese New Year, and so most are out of school at this point in time. But she will continue to monitor the situation.
That's Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley. Mr. Brantley was speaking in relation to the coronavirus outbreak. As of today, February 5th, 2020, there were 25,300 confirmed coronavirus cases and 490 deaths in mainland China. The virus has spread overseas with some 25 nations confirming cases. The World Health Organization, WHO, has declared the outbreak a global health emergency. The Ministry of Health here in St. Kitts and Nevis issued a travel advisory urging citizens and residents to restrict travel to China until the World Health Organization gives the all-clear in relation to the coronavirus. Persons traveling from China or who have traveled to another country from China within the last 14 days were asked to remain where they are and not to travel to St. Kitts and Nevis. Meanwhile, Premier Brantley sought to sensitize the public on the symptoms of the virus.
The symptoms include fever, cough, runny nose, chills, muscle pains, shortness of breath. Some persons have mild illness, however, some persons may develop severe symptoms. The health risk to the Federation and region at this time is still low. This is for a number of reasons. One, there are no direct flights from China to St. Kitts and Nevis. Two, exit screening is occurring in most major cities in China. Three, entry screening is being done at 5 major airports that receive flights from Wuhan: Atlanta, Chicago, LA, New York, and San Francisco. 4, Chinese authorities have imposed travel restrictions on residents of cities in that province.
Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley. In more national news,
the disaster management agencies and the seismologists, as we continue to monitor the activity and to indicate to persons that because of the statistics, it is likely that a major shakeup could occur at any time, and it's important that persons are aware of this and know what to do in the event of such a magnitude occurs.
Director of the Nevis Disaster Management Department, Mr. Brian Dyer. According to the Public Seismic Network's website ue.edu and ndmd.kn, at around 5 p.m. on Sunday, April 10th, 1690, a great earthquake of magnitude 8.0 or higher struck just southeast of the island of Barbuda in the Leeward Islands. The earthquake severely affected all of the islands of the northeast Caribbean, but particularly affected Nevis by triggering a tsunami and sinking the island's former capital, Jamestown. In 1843, an earthquake of similar magnitude, 8 to 8.5 on the Richter scale, occurred, destroying much of Charlestown, totaling in £50,000 or £6.7 million in today's rate, once adjusted for inflation in damages. Given the cost and the threats posed by an earthquake of this magnitude, is Nevis fully prepared for a serious earthquake and tsunami? On this week's edition of the Let's Talk program, Mr. Dyer explained what has been done by the Disaster Management Department in preparation for a possible earthquake.
St. Kitts Nevis has been designated tsunami ready by the UNESCO standard since the 16th of October 2016. We have an active public awareness campaign. We ensure that persons practice the job cover and hold. We have exercise or drills in the schools. We encourage the business places to take part. We also are part of the annual Carib Wave tsunami exercise in March every year. We canvass the problematic areas of Nevis or the areas that could be impacted by a tsunami. All the businesses, all the homes, we try to encourage persons to participate in these drills. We have identified the safe areas on Nevis where persons can run to in the event of a tsunami. We have developed tsunami evacuation maps.
He goes into further detail on measures that the public can do to strengthen and fortify weak infrastructure in case of an earthquake.
We have an ongoing public awareness campaign with regards to ensuring that persons know what to do before, during, and after each hazard, because there are many hazards. We have public awareness campaigns in the churches, in the schools, in the businesses. We have persons now coming on board, so we have the faith-based organizations, a part of the public awareness campaign. We have the Ministry of Education. We encourage the drop, cover, and hold measure. Stay away from glass windows. You pack your heavy items on lower shelves, a standing doorway if you can fit under your furniture. We also teach persons how to do search and rescue in the event of a major earthquake and persons are trapped. If you're trapped, we also teach you techniques, a tapping method to alert search and rescue officers where to find you.
Director of the Nevis Disaster Management Department, Mr. Brian Dyer. In police news, lawmen are currently conducting search operations for 2 persons reported missing. The police have been investigating a report in which 36-year-old Jabal Henry of Rivergut, Upper Kenyon, St. Kitts was reported missing. A police communique says Henry was last seen on the evening of Friday, January 31st, walking along the King Collins Highway wearing a black shirt and long black pants. He is said to be medium built, has dark skin, black hair, and is described as 5 feet 7 inches in height. Meantime, the police continue their search for 21-year-old Charvin Marks, who is still missing and was last seen on Thursday, December 19, 2019. He was last seen wearing a black sweater and a black sweatpants with a backpack on his back and a T-square in his hand. He is described as having dark skin, black hair, a scar on the center of his nose, facial hair, and is 5 feet 11 inches in height and medium built. An appeal is being made for persons with any information regarding the whereabouts of these 2 men to contact the Criminal Investigations Department at 465-2241, their nearest police station, or the crime hotline at 707. I Am and I Will was the theme for World Cancer Day 2020, which was observed on Tuesday, February 4th. World Cancer Day, which is observed annually on February 4th, is a global uniting initiative led by the Union for International Cancer Control, UICC. It is an opportunity to rally the international community to end the injustice of preventable suffering from cancer. Minister of State with Responsibility for Health, the Honorable Wendy Phipps, in a statement, noted that in the year 2019 alone, there were some 63 cases of cancer diagnosed between January and November, with the leading types of such cancers being breast cancer in St. Kitts, 15.3%, and prostate cancer here on Nevis, 11.5%. In keeping with the observance of World Cancer Day, Chief Medical Officer CMO Dr. Hazel Laws pointed out that every citizen and resident of St. Kitts and Nevis must take into account the small population, and noted that despite this, every effort must be made to combat cancer. She added that everyone must continue to aggressively prevent the disease wherever we can through healthy dietary and lifestyle changes. And lastly, in our national news segment, the Money Services Business Amendment Bill 2019 was passed in the National Assembly on Thursday, 23rd January. With this bill being amended and passed, there should be a plus to businesses and business owners here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. This means there should be an enhancement of operations of businesses licensed under the Parent Act. In making his address to support the bill, the Honorable Ian Patches Liburd stressed that one of the importance of the amendment was to make it easy for citizens and residents accessing the services of these financial institutions.
These financial institutions, Mr. Speaker, or money services businesses, they satisfy a void. They fill a gap in the market, as some of our people cannot access what I call the established banking institutions. Although we always implore that they ought to be cautious in terms of the advances they require or the advances they try to procure, Mr. Speaker. But we must agree that some of our own people needs to fill that gap at some period or some time in their lives.
He further elaborated on this importance, showing how it relates and helps business payroll.
It also expands payroll advances, Mr. Speaker, to be able to lend to small businesses. I saw a contractor in the gallery earlier who may want to finance his payroll, perhaps for one weekend. His employer may not have paid the claim. So on that basis, he or she can approach the lending institution and have an advance on their payroll at a particular time.
The Honorable Ian Patches Liburd. And that's the national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com, or you can check us out on Facebook at Von Radio or our Von Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
We know you have your personal as well as your business needs, and we're here to help. Our knowledgeable staff will work with you to help you achieve the financial success that you or your company needs in a competitive market. We offer solutions to make your banking experience easier, like our savings and checking accounts. Be sure to ask about our youth savers accounts and our Bank of Nevis Gold Club. We offer a wide range of personal loans, including mortgage, land, student, auto, and consumer loans. Have access to your funds instantly with our Online internet banking and our debit and credit cards. We make international banking and investing easy. How's your business? Give it the leverage it really needs by letting the Bank of Nevis assist you with all the necessary funding for all your business expenses. It's that easy. What are you waiting for? The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life.
Like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/The Bank of Nevis.
Welcome back and now on to the regional news. In Puerto Rico, a magnitude 5.0 earthquake hit Puerto Rico on Tuesday, where people are still on edge from a series of quakes after last month's deadly 6.4 temblor earthquake. It was the 11th earthquake of at least that size in the past 30 days, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. The earthquake center was 13 miles southeast of Guanica on the southwest coast, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. Shelters were already emptying shortly after the quake hit at 10:45 a.m., but it left several municipal employees requiring emotional assistance. Guayanilla Mayor Nelson Torres Jordan told newspaper El Nuevo Dia. The magnitude 6.4 earthquake on January 7th left one person dead, destroyed dozens of homes and structures, and left 300,000 without water and two-thirds of the island without power. According to EditionCNN.com, since last December, a series of earthquakes about 500 of magnitude 2 or greater have rattled Puerto Rico, hitting infrastructure already weakened by Category 5 Hurricane Maria that struck the island in September 2017. The Trinidad and Tobago government yesterday, February 4th, said that perpetrators of sexual crimes would face the full brunt of novel laws aimed at deterring, punishing, and shaming rapists, pedophiles, and those others with a propensity to commit sexual crimes. In a statement, the Office of the Attorney General said that the laws went into effect as of January 31st this year. It said that under the Sexual Offences Amendment Act 2019, for the first time in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, information on sexual offenders can be shown on an online website for the public to access their names, addresses, photographs, and offences committed. According to nationnews.com, the Commissioner of Police can also publicize this information for the public to be aware and better protect themselves. At the end of the statement, it reads, between the years 2000 and 2019, there were a total of 1,693 persons convicted of sexual offences in Trinidad and Tobago, yet 0 of those persons were registered in a sexual offenders registry. This government, according to the statement, identified this lacuna in the law for immediate reform to seriously address the sentencing, registering, and monitoring of sex offenders, and also provide a critical tool to law enforcement investigations. News from the Turks and Caicos Islands. Premier Charlene Robinson says she has no intentions of calling early elections in the Turks and Caicos Islands. General elections are due in December 2020, and the opposition Progressive National Party PNP has been urging the Premier to call it early. However, when she appeared on a radio show last month, the Premier stated there is lots of work left to get done. The Premier said she refuses to call elections because people want it to be called. Responding to criticism that people are not feeling the People's Democratic Movement PDM government, she stated, "You feel a government by the provision of services that it continues to offer. When the economy, is doing good, we really want people to feel that it is doing good." Robinson stressed that the Turks and Caicos Islands must look at an economic model that's going to work for the country. Premier Robinson said that soon after they were elected, they had to shift priorities. And Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley has been conferred the Order of Roraima, Guyana's second highest national award, for her dedication and demonstrated commitment and contribution towards the strengthening of the Caribbean community CARICOM. The national honor was presented by Guyana's President David Granger at a courtesy call during a visit to the country, where she made primarily to meet the staff of the headquarters of CARICOM, of which she became chairman last month. And that's it for our regional news segment. Stay with us for news around the world. Welcome back, and now onto the international news. Hong Kong is to impose a mandatory 14-day quarantine on all visitors from mainland China as it battles to prevent the spread of a coronavirus outbreak. The policy comes into effect on Saturday, but officials refused to close the border entirely as demanded by medical staff who have gone on strike. Hong Kong, which has 21 confirmed cases and 1 fatality, suffered 300 deaths in the SARS outbreak in 2002 to 2003. There are 24,300 confirmed coronavirus cases and 490 deaths on the mainland. Those figures included an additional 4,000 cases and 65 deaths on Tuesday. The virus has spread overseas, with some 25 nations confirming cases, although there have so far only been 2 deaths. The World Health Organization (WHO) has declared the outbreak a global health emergency. More in this BBC report.
3 new cases of coronavirus infection have been confirmed in Hong Kong today in people who have not travelled to mainland China and had not had any close contact with people from the mainland. Hong Kong's Chief Executive Carrie Lam said starting on Saturday, Hong Kong will start to quarantine everyone crossing the border from mainland China, including Hong Kong residents. Some medical unions say that is still too little, too late.
Finland's new government has announced plans to give all parents the same parental leave in a push to get fathers to spend more time with their children. Paid allowance will increase to a combined 14 months, which works out as 164 days per parent. Neighboring Sweden has Europe's most generous system of parental leave with 240 days each after a baby's birth. Finland says it wants to promote well-being and gender equality. Pete Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders are leading in the first vote to choose the Democratic candidate to run against President Donald Trump in November's election. The vote in Iowa has been chaotic, beset by technical problems and delays in reporting results. Iowa's Democratic Party said data from 71% of precincts showed Mr. Buttigieg on 26.8%, with Mr. Sanders on 25.2%. Elizabeth Warren was on third on 18.4% and Joe Biden fourth on 15.4%. Amy Klobuchar was on 12.6% and Andrew Yang on 1%, according to the other preliminary results released on Tuesday evening from all of Iowa's 99 counties. Tom Steyer and Tulsi Gabbard were on less than 1%. And President Donald Trump has hailed the Great American Comeback in a speech to Congress that exposed sharp divisions at the top of U.S. politics. At his annual State of the Union address, Mr. Trump set out his case for another 4 years in office. He was speaking on the eve of his expected acquittal on corruption charges in his impeachment trial. At one point, the Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi ripped up a copy of his speech behind him. The BBC's Ben Wright reports.
It was a very confident and typically bombastic Donald Trump performance. It did feel more like a political rally than a State of the Union address. And it was surreal because sitting there in front of him were, ranks of Democrats, including the House managers who've been trying to turf him out of office in the case they're prosecuting in the Senate, a case that wraps up in the next few hours. So it was very strange in terms of the timing. The tone was startlingly toxic, even for Washington.
And that's it for our international news segment. Stay with us for sports.
TDC Financial Services help you go for your goals. Whether you're thinking of taking that grand vacation, down payment on a house, higher education, TDC Financial Services has various plans that will allow you to go for your goals. Choose from the Accumulator Plus, Investment Starter Plan, and Fixed Deposit. Ready to go for your goals? Visit us at TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Welcome back on All the Sports. In football, Jamaica ended their 2020 CONCACAF Women's Olympic qualifying CWOQ Championship on a high note with a 7-0 win over St. Kitts and Nevis on Tuesday night at HEB Park in Edinburgh, Texas. For Jamaica, it was a historic night as they earned their first ever CWOQ victory. St. Kitts and Nevis also faced Mexico on Saturday, February 1st, but was beaten 6-0. In cricket, left-handers Shimon Hetmyer and Evan Lewis could find themselves in with a chance of redemption shortly after failed fitness assessments ruled them out of this month's one-day tour of Sri Lanka. Cricket West Indies CWI Chief Executive Johnny Grave revealed on Monday that fitness assessments were conducted on a biannual basis with the next one scheduled for June, but players who failed assessments could also be reappraised. In announcing the 15-man squad for the Sri Lanka series on Monday, Chief Selector Roger Harper said both Hetmyer and Lewis had come up short in the fitness test. In local sports, on Sunday, February 2nd, in the ongoing local football league, Bath United engaged arch-rivals Hard Times at the ETW Park. The final scores were Bath United 4 goals, Hard Times 1 goal. The current points standings in the league are as follows: Youths of the Future 16 points, All Ballers 14 points, Bath United 13 points, Stony Grove Sligo Strikers 5 points, Hard Times FC 4 points, Pioneers FC 1 point, and Villa International 0 points. Still in local sports, the Nevis NABA Chargers went up against the St. Kitts Rams Hitters in the Junior Basketball League on Friday evening, January 31st. The Chargers beat the Hitters 81 points to 67. Meanwhile, on February 1st, Rams Sandy Point Futa Falcons defeated Inner City Phoenix in the Junior Basketball League. Sandy Point Futa Falcons beat the Inner City Phoenix 68 points to 67. In athletics, four-time 100-meter world champion Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce says she believes she can keep the younger generation at bay to win Olympic gold in Tokyo. She was quoted as saying, "I definitely believe it's possible, considering the year I had and the room to improve." The 33-year-old became the oldest woman to win a world or Olympic 100-meter title with victory in Doha in September. She only came back to competition early last year after spending 2 years away from the sport to have her son Zion. Fraser-Pryce won 100-meter gold at Beijing 2008 and London 2012 before taking bronze behind compatriot Elaine Thompson and American Tori Bowie at Rio 2016. She also confirmed that she intends to double up by competing in the 200 meters, the event in which 24-year-old Briton Dean Asher-Smith won gold in Doha. Meanwhile, Olympic organizers are seriously concerned about the spread of coronavirus and the impact it could have on the Tokyo Games this summer. Several qualification events have already been impacted due to the virus. Tokyo Organizing Committee Chief Executive Toshiro Moto hopes it will be eradicated as quickly as possible. Still in sports, in basketball, here are the scores from last evening's games. Bucks beat the Pelicans 120-108. Rockets beat the Hornets 125 points to 110. Nuggets beat the Trailblazers 127 points to 99. And Lakers beat the Spurs 129 points to 102. Tonight's games will feature the Suns versus the Pistons, Pacers versus the Raptors, Magic versus the Celtics, Warriors versus the Nets, Cavaliers versus the Thunder, Hawks versus Timberwolves, Grizzlies versus Mavericks, Nuggets versus Jazz, and Heat versus the Clippers. And still in basketball, the Los Angeles Lakers' first game since Kobe Bryant's death was the second most watched regular season NBA game on ESPN. The game Friday against the Portland Trail Blazers averaged 4.41 million viewers. The only telecast to surpass that since ESPN resumed NBA coverage in 2002 to 2003 was a January 2003 game between the Lakers and Houston Rockets that featured the first matchup between Shaquille O'Neal and Yao Ming, 4.88 million viewers. And that's it for sports. The weather is next. Welcome back. Tonight's weather, partly cloudy with a 20% or a slight chance of showers. The winds east at 8 to 16 knots. The seas 1.5 to 1.8 meters. A small craft caution is likely to be issued later tomorrow. And the sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:41 a.m. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Wednesday, February 5th, 2020. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, Nevis's premier updates nation about students studying in Taiwan amidst coronavirus outbreak. And is Nevis fully prepared for an earthquake given the seismic activity that is occurring around the Caribbean? Regionally, Puerto Rico is rattled again weeks after a deadly earthquake. Internationally, coronavirus, Hong Kong to quarantine visitors from mainland China. And in sports, Jamaica beats St. Kitts and Nevis in CONCACAF qualifying match. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Jarvis Bond wishing you a pleasant evening.